Hey, welcome. So today we're going to dive into a really fascinating approach to mindfulness. It's one that gets rid of this whole complicated idea of a self that has to do all the work. It's about finding a way to put in effort that, believe it or not, feels almost effortless. And it all starts with a problem that I think you'll recognize. Wow, this image from an ancient text just hits you, right? I mean, does that feel familiar at all? That sensation of being tied to something, just running in circles, completely trapped by the story of who you think you are. It's powerful stuff. So let's just call it what it is, the mind on a leash. And this isn't some niche problem. It's a universal struggle. We all know what it's like to be pulled around by our own thoughts and feelings. And here's the thing. The reason we feel trapped is because we're constantly circling that post of identity. We can't seem to stop grabbing onto everything that pops into our heads. This body is me. This feeling is mine. This thought is who I am. We get completely tangled up, and that's the leash. Okay, so how in the world do we get some slack in that leash? Well, the first tool is beautifully simple. It's an anchor. It's a way to find just a moment of stillness right in the middle of all that mental chaos. That's it. Seriously, that's the first step. It's not about fighting your mind or trying to shut it up. It's about giving your attention a safe place to land, even just for a second. Just breathe. So the formal instructions are actually super straightforward. First, you just find a quiet spot, sit down, and just decide to be present. That's it. Then you simply pay attention. You mindfully breathe in, you mindfully breathe out. Notice if a breath is long or if it's short. No judgment. No need to change it. You're just knowing. And then you can start to expand that awareness, feeling the sensation of the breath in your whole body. This is your anchor. It's always there. But the anchor is really just the beginning. Once we found a little bit of calm, we can pull out a second tool. And this is the one that really starts to untie the knot. It all starts with a very powerful question. Who or what is this I that's on the leash? You know, the ancient teachings break down what we think of as our self into these 5 changing parts or processes. You've got your physical form, your body. You've got feelings, pleasant, painful, neutral. They're always changing. You've got perception, how you recognize and label things. You've got your choices and intentions. And finally, you have consciousness itself. See a pattern here? These aren't solid things. They're all just processes happening. So let's do a little investigation together, right out of the suttas. Let's take that first one, your body. Is it permanent, the same forever, or is it impermanent? Yeah, of course it is. It's changing constantly, moment to moment. The answer is obvious, impermanent. Okay, so next question. If your body is always changing, if it's unstable and you can't ultimately control it, is it a reliable source of lasting happiness? Or is holding on to it for dear life kind of stressful? Is it, in other words, a source of suffering? Right. Anything that's constantly changing that we try to cling to for security is eventually going to cause us stress. That's what the texts mean by suffering. And this right here is the million-dollar question. If your body is impermanent and a source of stress when you cling to it, does it really make any sense to look at it and say, this is mine, I am this is myself? And you can apply this exact same logic to your feelings, your thoughts, your perceptions, and pretty soon the whole idea of a solid, fixed self starts to look really, really wobbly. So what does this all mean for how we practice? This is where it all comes together. This is where we learn to apply effort without a doer, without some stressed out self who has to get it right. It's about skillfully using these 2 tools together. Just look at the difference here. On one hand, you have the kind of effort we all know, ego-driven effort. It's that feeling of, okay, I have to concentrate, I need to stop my thoughts, I have to get this right. And it's just filled with tension and frustration. But then there's this other way, skillful effort. It's more like being a good gardener. You're not yelling at the plants to grow, you're just creating the right conditions. You cultivate what's helpful, you gently pull the weeds, and you let nature do its thing. And let me be clear, this is not a passive approach, not at all. One text says we should apply extraordinary enthusiasm, effort, zeal, and vigor. But the key is what we're applying it to. We're not directing all that energy into a battle against ourselves. We're directing it into the simple, impersonal job of cultivating what's good, with the same energy you'd use to put out a fire that had just started on your shirt. So what happens when you practice this way? What's the big payoff for using the anchor and for questioning who's even holding the leash? Well, it's pretty profound. It's the freedom of not grasping. True freedom, it turns out, isn't some far-off, mystical state. It's what happens right here and now, when the mind is simply freed from its unhealthy habits, by not grasping. You stop grasping at your body as me. You stop grasping at your feelings as mine. It's the end of that frantic, exhausting circling around the post. There's this absolutely beautiful image that captures this feeling perfectly. It says that when we let go of that grasping, our sorrows just fall away, like a single drop of water sliding off a lotus leaf, leaving no trace behind. There's this natural ease and lightness that's just there. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What could you do? What could you accomplish? What could you become if you weren't spending all that energy defending and propping up this idea of a fixed, solid self? What kind of freedom would that open up in your life? It's definitely something worth exploring. Thanks so much for joining me.